from the BBC World Service in association with ABC and All India Radio. This is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in London, where flat tracks, big bats and some incredible ball striking has seen England's men post and chase down some humongous totals in ODI cricket this week. I'll tell you what, some grounds are going to see some very big scores in the World Cup, I'd say. Will we see the 500 mark broken? Apparently, the World Cup organisers and the ECB have had to reprint their scorecards for the World Cup because they only went up to scores of 400. They think that there could be more, and I'm inclined to agree with them.
It's Jim Maxwell for the ABC in Sydney, and I'm getting ready to head to the bush to Burrawang for the annual Cricket Collectors Fair. It's a pretty nerdy group, but fascinating nonetheless. And I'm looking forward to a weekend of some quirkiness, let's say, for the next few days. And I'll let you know about it next week.
Perfect for Stumped.
We look forward to your report, Jim. Hello, I'm Charu Sharma for All India Radio from Mumbai today, here for the T20 Mumbai League, one of the many high-profile state leagues which feed the IPL. Now, this one received a big boost of attention, as you can imagine, with Mumbai winning the big one just a few days ago.
Well, Charu, I mean, Mumbai, very much the city of the moment, aren't they? But what I want to know is, were you there in time for this? Well, that is the sound of the Mumbai Indians open-top bus parade through the streets of the city. It was all part of their celebrations after the team won what was a record fourth IPL title. And, wow, what a thrilling last ball victory it was over the Chennai Super Kings. You know, I was trying to think, Charu, where else in the world would a domestic cricket title warrant an open-top bus parade? But, you know, then I remembered my own county, Northants, got a parade through Northampton and a civic reception. Both times they won the Blast in 2013 and 2016. So, you know, Mumbai, well done. Were you there amongst the crowds? That's what I want to know, Charu.
Well, I'm glad you remembered about the Northants because, you know, cricket in our part of the world is just, I dare suggest, just a little more higher profile than in Northamptonshire.
They turned out in their droves on the streets of Northampton, I can tell you.
I was actually home watching the final with a few friends. That was in Bangalore, and I came the very next day to Mumbai. But I tell you what, enough evidence of the fact that Mumbai must have been one big party, not only that night, but the next night as well, because the hotel I'm staying in, the Trident Mumbai at Nariman Point on Marine Drive, was festooned full of Mumbai Indians memorabilia because they had their big party here that night. And oh boy, I mean, not an inch of space left. There's still remnants of Mumbai Indian stuff lying around. But oh yeah, I mean, this city is just fabulous for cricket, as you know, one of the many big homes of cricket, and they truly enjoyed their victory of 4-peat. But luckily for me, all that has a fabulous ripple effect on the T20 Mumbai. So there's a lot more attention. There are crowds at the Wankhede, and some of the IPL stars, of course, are the big stars of T20 Mumbai. So it's all good in this part of the world right now.
Yeah, it sounds. I can only imagine the scenes at that party. I wish I could have been there. I mean, what is Mumbai's secret? Because their 4 titles have all come in the last 7 seasons. They're packing them in.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about that. I think it's just the personnel, because in T20 cricket it's very difficult, I think, to have a superior strategy or tactics on the field. You just have to have the personnel. Many might believe that Rohit Sharma, you know, much as he's done fabulously for the team as captain, he has only on occasion led India. So is it captaincy? No, not that much. Is it, you know, a home ground advantage? No, it was played in Hyderabad. They just had the right people, impact players. I mean, to have somebody like Jasprit Bumrah, who bowled so well in the final, is a fabulous weapon. And of course, to have somebody like Pollard as a finisher, although he didn't enjoy a great season, Rohit himself, and of course, Hardik Pandya could do no wrong this season. So I think they have the highest number of impact players, along with Chennai, who of course were equally good and had that match in their hands.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and ironically, though, Alison, Jim, ironically, the person who couldn't score that one run or more off the last delivery is a Mumbai star playing for Chennai. So there's a little bit of irony there as well.
Oh, and a little bit of pain, I imagine, too. I mean, Jim, well, talking of pain, the Aussie Shane Watson was so nearly the hero for Chennai, wasn't he? 80 off 59 balls, but was then run out in the final over just when the finish line was in sight. But we only found out afterwards that he'd been batting through the pain of a really nasty gash in his knee, and he had to have 6 stitches after the match. I mean, that is true Aussie grit, isn't it? I mean, we saw photos afterwards. It showed Watto playing shots with blood soaking through the knee of his trousers.
Well, it was an interesting twist, I suppose, and you look back on his career and how injury-plagued he was at various stages of it, and yet he's the enduring warrior. He seems to be going forever. He's 37 years of age and clearly enjoying himself. He did go through a few red lights on his way to 80. I think there was a run-out that would have cut him short and a few catches going down, but he almost pulled it off for them. 59 balls, 80 runs, yes. His powers are not quite diminished, even though he may have lost a little bit of blood on the way.
Well, it was a dramatic climax. I mean, you did feel for CSK, but big congratulations to Mumbai. I mean, the question is, are they going to let anybody else win it next year? We will have to see.
From the BBC World Service, this is Stumped on All India Radio.
Next, to our countdown of the greatest matches in the history of the Cricket World Cup. And with 2 weeks to go until the tournament begins, we're into the end game. So this week, it's time for...
Number 2.
Second place in our top 10 goes to a match that produced one of the most dramatic moments, not only in Men's World Cup history, but in all of cricket. It was the 1999 World Cup semi-final between Australia and South Africa at Edgbaston, and it went down to the final over. South Africa needed 9 runs to win and reach the final, while Australia's victory in the Super 6 match between the two teams meant that a tie would be enough to see them through. Now, Lance Klusener struck the first 2 deliveries for 4 to level the scores and put South Africa on the brink of glory. But what happened next is barely believable even now. Here are the 3rd and 4th balls of that over, described on Test Match Special by Tim Lane and Vic Marks.
Here it is. Fleming in and bowls, and Klusener hoiks at it, doesn't score a run. There might be a run out at the bowler's end. Lehmann underarms, he misses. Donald might have been out. The ball was dragged to mid-on by Klusener. Lehmann onto it. Had a go. Donald was backing up.
We're having a look at that replay. Lehmann very close in at mid-on. Shies at the stumps. Underarm. He'd have been out if he'd hit.
Well, another chance. Another one goes begging. 3 balls left, 1 to win. Fleming in and bowls. Klusener hits back past the bowler. There's a mix-up. Oh, there could be a run-out. There will be a run-out.
Oh.
It's a tie. Australia is in the final. Australia is in a 4th, an unprecedented 4th World Cup final after an unbelievable tie at Edgbaston. Donald has been run out after an incredible, impossible to describe mix-up. South Africa all out. 213. The match is tied, and Australia go to Lord's and the final.
I mean, I knew exactly what was going to happen in that commentary. I still had my hands on my head and sort of unbelievably kind of listening and laughing and cringing and go, oh my gosh, how did that happen? Brilliantly commentated by Tim Lane. And we've all been in those tight finishes, and he really conveyed the drama of it all. Jim, over to you. I mean, what were your memories of that moment?
Well, I was back here at home watching and listening in the wee hours of the morning. And I've given it away, I think, like most Australians, most people watching it after Klusener had clubbed a couple of boundaries. And I thought, well, you know, he'll squirt one around. He'll probably just finish it off with another 4. But maybe that's what he should have been trying to do instead of look for the single. But whatever it was an extraordinary finish. And there were 2 extraordinary games against South Africa, if you look back. And that crucial game previously when Steve Waugh allegedly said to Herschel Gibbs, I think you just dropped the World Cup when Well, did he drop him when he was 56? Or did he catch it and throw it up in celebration? And that's still a controversial moment, and Steve Waugh went on to make 120.
Yeah, in Charu, that is a devastating way for South Africa to have gone out at the semi-final stage.
Well, forget about South African fans. I was devastated because I was in Singapore presenting shows, and all of us all but fell down from our chairs because, after those 2 fours with only one to win, with Klusener there, I mean, it was just such a cakewalk for South Africa. On that third delivery, I remember saying, well, so lucky South Africa because they made the biggest error, the biggest blunder trying to get themselves run out. And surely that's not going to happen now. And it broke my heart for sure. Can you imagine what it did to South Africa? We all know that we are only presuming, have never recovered. I mean, they've been a very good team in patches and should have won a lot more silverware than they have. And that one match really scarred them so badly. One can imagine why. And I don't know why Donald took off.
Well, let's get the story from the man who was there and at the centre of that remarkable finale, because Australia's Damien Fleming bowled that fateful final over and was central in the run-out that ended the match. Flem, welcome to Stumped. How are you?
Ali, guys, how are you? I can't believe it's 20 years. And the commentary from Tim Lane was excellent delivery, almost as good as my last delivery, the fourth ball that got us there. But great memories. But yeah, you wonder how much that, has been in the South African psyche for big tournaments and for the Australian team after winning. We won obviously in that tournament, but they went on to bigger and better things.
Let's go back to the start of that final over then, because you've got Lance Klusener on strike, a man very much in form. 9 runs are needed. So what were you thinking?
Yeah, it's interesting because, someone like Lance Klusener was probably the most destructive closing batsman of that era. And we'd spoken a lot about him the night before, and we'd come up with variable game plans. And one was to come around the wicket and bowl wide Yorkers, because there was a belief he wasn't as strong through the offside. Well, he dispelled that belief within the first 2 deliveries when he hit them about 500 miles into the cover fence. But for me, I'd actually bowled the last over for Australia off and on for the last 5 years. So I did have some confidence, and I tended to back myself if the opposition had more than 8 runs to win. But, once he hit that second 4th, and it was a tie, I could just sense all my teammates' heads dropping. And it's funny how you have these... Yeah, and you have these weird thoughts, though, and in hindsight, people have asked, did you think about, the loss, or you didn't want to bowl a wide or no ball? But I just had this voice in my head said, you just have to bowl him out now.
The tension of that game's reflected on the scoreboard, of course, as Australia only made 213. Did you really think you had a chance after making such an average score?
No, we were short, weren't we? But that's where Shane Warne come to the fore. I think they were numb for 48 after 10, so the World Cup campaign is gone. And that's what you admired so much about Warney, that sometimes, when the pressure was at its most, he seemed to get so much solace about being on the field and showing his skills, being front and centre. And his deliveries, they're still underrated. Everyone talks about the Gatting ball, but what about the ball that knocked over Herschel Gibbs? What about the ball that knocked over Gary Kirsten through the gate? But our top players come to the fore.
Hey, this is Charu Sharma from India. Now, you had a pretty spicy game for South Africa a few days earlier in the Super Sixes. And when you did play this famous tied match, was there by then some kind of extra needle or bad blood between you and South Africa?
Yeah, to be honest, against South Africa, it was pretty ferocious from the time that they come back playing from the 1992 World Cup on. But within that, there was a lot of admiration for each other. We thought South Africa were really well drilled and skilled, and often the number one-day team in the world. But we did feel like sometimes they lacked flair in big games. And we were obviously well drilled and skilled as well, but we definitely had flexibility.
Great to hear your side of those events in '99. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Are we going to see you actually out here during the World Cup? Are you coming out? And do you have a hot tip for the tournament as well?
No, I'm coming out for the last 4 weeks, so hopefully we'll catch up there. India and England will make the semis, and I thought that was the final 6 months ago, but watch out for the Aussies, everyone.
From the BBC World Service, this is Stumped. on All India Radio.
Next on Stumped, the world's biggest ever elections are coming to an end this week, and cricketers are playing an important part in India's polls. Here's our reporter Rahul Tandon in Kolkata.
You'll hear lots of songs like that in India urging people to vote because it's election time. And so there are lots of conversations about India's various IPLs, the Indian Political League and the Indian Premier League, which has just finished. People here love to talk about two subjects, politics and cricket. And the former Indian batsman, Gautam Gambhir, well, he's bringing them both together.
I'm joining this party and I'm sure that I'm going to live up to their expectations because I've done whatever I could in cricket. And this is a fabulous platform for me to do something really good for this country and make this country a much better place to live.
Gautam Gambhir is standing as a candidate for the ruling BJP party. Meanwhile, another former Indian star has been batting for the opposition Congress party.
किसान की इनकम दुगनी कर दूंगा, बुलेट ट्रेन फुर करके चला दूंगा.
The unmistakable voice of who else but Navjot Singh Sidhu. So the Indian cricketers are a factor in these elections, but they've got some way to go before they can match the achievements of one of their Pakistani counterparts.
कि मैं खलूस नियत से पाकिस्तान का हामी और वफादार रहूंगा.
Imran Khan being sworn in as Pakistan's Prime Minister. Come on, boy, come on! So are we going to see more cricketers going from fields like this into politics? With me on this Maidan is the cricket writer Mudda Pateria.
I think with the coming of the IPL, I think with cricketers also being raised to demigods, which is obviously happening for quite some time, there is a greater propensity of cricketers who are relatively out of jobs or, don't have much of a career to fall back on, but consider politics to be an excellent cushion to sustain their careers.
So on the busy streets of India, what do they make of cricketers becoming politicians? And is there anyone in particular they'd like to see take that walk into the field of politics?
I think people with more intellect, people who understand the system better, they should come into politics, not Gambhir. Gambhir may come into it.
Politicians are 50% are celebrities.
We don't need celebrities in our politics. We need people with good brains and good heart.
Dhoni would be a very good candidate when it comes to Chennai or Ranchi.
Saurav Ganguly is one of the intelligent minds of cricket, so I guess he's the one.
We'll know who's going to be India's next Prime Minister probably next week. Whoever it is, watch out. If India win the World Cup, a certain Mr. Dhoni or Mr. Kohli might take your job.
Well, that's all from this week's Stumped on All India Radio. You can stay in touch with us on Twitter via @BBCWS Sport using the hashtag BBC Stumped. My thanks to Charu, Sharma and Jim Maxwell, and to you for listening. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Stumped is a BBC sport production for the BBC World Service in association with the Australian Broadcasting Corporation and All India Radio.